as well. One sec. And we can left on IG. Okay. As well. One sec.
Hello everyone and good evening. It's Gabby here again as every Tuesday 5 p.m. So thank you so much for joining us on Zoom or on Instagram here live.
As well.
Hello everyone. If you do want to
It's Gabby here again as every Tuesday 5 p.m. So
thank you so much for joining us on Zoom or on Instagram here live.
As well. Hello.
So hopefully that's better now. For those who are joining us on IG Live,
I'm sorry, but there's a debber. Okay, so thank you for the patience. It's not working super great, but we're going to work it out. So yeah, as I said, better experience definitely over on Zoom, as I showed the link in the IG. But let's get started. So a bit of an introduction. Every Tuesday, 5 p.m., we run this event for half an hour. It's like a masterclass that will then stay on our website and you can access it afterwards in our library. We aiming to teach you some new skills or share interesting experience that we have. Tonight, I'm joined by the founder of Studio Lutalika, Cecilia Regini, who is also my dear friend. So I'm very happy to have Cecilia here. So hello, and thanks for joining us, Cecilia. Let me just get you on IG Live and we can get started right away. So is Studio Lutalika with us on IG Live? Let me just check. And once again, thank you for the patience. I can't see you yet. Are you on our live, Chachi?
I am trying.
Okay, thank you so much for sticking up with us for these technicalities. And for Kirsty and Rich and Virginia who are on Zoom, could you maybe share a bit of introduction about you in the chat? What is it that you do and your handles, if you have socials, and where are you based, please? So Kirsty, Rich and Virginia, what do you do? Thank you. Oh, we lost Virginia. So didn't mean to intimidate anyone. But okay, so just 1 second until we get Chichi up live. And here we are, fantastic. So now nothing's stopping us from getting started. Chichi, if I can hand it over to you and you can share a bit of introduction with us and then how you got from a freelancer to starting your own creative agency.
Lovely. Just before I get started, just want to make sure that everyone can hear me okay, and also on there's no double audio. Is it good? Okay, fantastic. So hi everyone, my name is Cecilia. I use they them pronouns, and as Gabby introduced me, I'm the founder and creative director of Studio Lutalika. Studio Lutalika is a agency, design and consultancy to help LGBTQ plus and feminist organization to through the power of design to kind of like make sure that they reach their full potential. So Lutalika comes from the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. It's a cute dictionary that that you can find on the internet. It's free to access, and it's a collection of names for concepts that are not in the wild but should be. So Lutalika means the part of your identity that doesn't fit into categories, and kind of like felt really appropriate to us. So we have a long manifesto that you can read on our website, but basically what we're trying to do here through when we're trying to communicate through our values is sort of don't be a dick, meaning we're trying to fight for gender equality, for diversity and inclusion. We're trying to represent and to support unrepresented communities. All of this in the context of like not hurting the planet or all kind of other people. So I guess we take a step back and looking into kind of like my own experience. So here you can see a mini timeline of my professional journey. On the left, you can see the education. On the right, you can see my work experience. So I graduated in 2019 from UAL, University of the Arts in London, in design management. I have completed master in gender media and culture at Goldsmiths. While studying, I've been always working as kind of like a designer freelance or part-time in multiple kind of positions. One of the most significant as a design manager for The Alchemistry, a luxury jewelry startup, and I volunteered as a marketing and creative lead for Mosaic Trust, which is a charity supporting LGBT young persons. And from 2020, I started working as a project manager at Latimore & Friends, which is a web development agency. And as you all may know, in 2020, something really scary happened for the world. You may remember the pandemic. So during this time, I find myself very lucky having a full-time job, first of all. But there were, while many people were baking banana breads at home, I was trying to sort out what else I could do with my time. So thinking about how I could kind of merge together my education, so in design management and in gender studies, I wanted to create something for the community that I am part of. So I started working more and more as a freelancer for specifically kind of a feminist and queer projects, until the point that it was becoming too big and I couldn't do it by myself anymore. So I had to start getting the right people together. So I guess mini starting a business to-do list is find the market gap in the market, which I found because apparently no one was focusing on, no one was doing targeted design services for feminist and LGBT clients. Some people more into the feminist sphere, but not many in the LGBT one. And second of all, you got to find the right people. Yes, you have to find that you need to do a business plan, you need to organize like the finances, all of that. That's absolutely fair. But the first thing that you need to do is to find the right people. And for us, that meant a few different things. So one is that, well, first of all, you can't do everything, especially in a company. Gabby smiles because we, as we remember, we've done this a project together, and like, it's really hard to kind of like combine all of the skills to make sure that you create a well-oiled machine. So you need to find the right people for the right job. And also because you might not like doing everything. There are parts of the businesses that you might not be comfortable with, and you might not like doing. So I started getting together kind of like the right people for the right jobs, the right freelancers especially. So what really having the right freelancers helped us to do is to kind of getting really in a niche environment for every project that we're working with. So this led to kind of like our kind of business model in a way. So while the other studios usually kind of focus on a local scale from a location standpoint, and have a focus for an audience that's quite broad. So they might work on kind of this is a bad example, but the oil petrol company to kind of Greenpeace website. What we're trying to do is to work globally with many different kind of like different countries, but to really focus our niche. So in terms of audience, so we're to work only with feminist and LGBT people, and do so, we need to get the right freelancers that are part of the community as well. So yeah, this is kind of like some of the work that we've been doing. You can see this is like kind of the branding and kind of website for Mosaic Trust, which I mentioned earlier. I still volunteer as marketing and creative lead. We've been working with consultancies to kind of for people to help other women start their career and kickstart their freelance jobs, or getting in a full-time experience. We work with Lavender, which is the first online sexual health clinic for LGBT people. Jessica Laniado, queer astrologer. Amphibian Stage, which is a community theatre in Texas, in the US. So as you can see, kind of like a diverse projects that mostly include web because of my previous experience, but there are many different kind of outputs to this. And I guess one thing that it's very important that I learned in this couple of years since I studied Italica is that no project is a waste of time, meaning that often when starting up, whether you are a freelancer or you're starting a company, you're getting to do a lot of different projects, and you may find yourself thinking sometimes, oh my God, this is horrible, this is not leading me anywhere, I really don't like it. And you wonder about where is this going to take you? Even the smallest and kind of what I thought that were most insignificant or really not related to us projects at the end led us somewhere. You can always learn from anything that you do. And one thing that it's really important here is that you learn transferable skills. So where you think that you might not use that project for your portfolio, you will still be able at the end to kind of you might have learned something that you will use in a different project, in a different kind of completely, maybe a different set, maybe not even in your work, but you learn something that you'll take on in life. And then to kind of be agile and ready for change. So this is we started during the pandemic. So as you can imagine, when we started, the world had a set of needs that already now, 2 years on the run, things are changing pretty quickly. So while before it was all focused on web because everyone had to go on the internet very quickly, now things are changing a bit and people are starting working more towards kind of branding, and that we're seeing more and more of work coming from that side of things. So I guess as a freelancer, niche is important, and for us niche is important especially from a values perspective, from a kind of audience that we serve, but we need to be ready to change the type of services that we offer, adapt our pricing, adapt our processes, the way that we work, etc. And last but not least is really to stay true to our values. It happened to us a few times that we got approached by clients that sort of fit the way that we work, but not. But there was something that was not quite right. So, for example, might have been a fast fashion company or some companies that we felt that were not aligning with our manifesto. So it's really important to make sure that although if the money is nice but if you are in a position to turn down jobs because if you have to eat at the end of the day, you got to take everything you can. But if you are in a position where you can start selecting who you work with, make sure that you stay true to our values. So make sure that you don't create something, that you do not work on something that you'll be ashamed or you'll regret having created and is going to be out there in the wild. So yeah, that's kind of for us, it's been really important to do this. And even the more you do of the projects that you want to do, and the more of those projects will come to you. So that's always something to keep in mind. Yeah, so that's kind of my stories and my story, and I'm really keen to see if there's any questions or anything in particular that you'd like to know. Thank you very much for your attention.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ceci. Let me just share the links on IG as well. So it's Studio Lutalica on every single social platform, it seems. So nice and easy. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and also talking a bit more about the experience of the studio. And hello, Nati, joining us on Instagram as well. So let me dive a bit more into the process of transitioning from the freelancer per se into like creative director and founder of a studio or creative agency, which is really, really fascinating. So I'll start asking you if anybody has any questions, just drop them in the chat on Zoom or IG, and I'll read them out to chat to you afterwards. So first and foremost, I'd love to say well done, because you made it sound super easy and like, you know, somebody was making banana bread during the pandemic and I just got on making a studio like as you do, but I'm sure it wasn't as easy. So what was like the initial thought? What sparked the idea of, you know, actually taking it to the next level and not being just a solopreneur, but actually have a team of people around you to embark on this journey? How did it start?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it started from a position of necessity more than anything else. So I've been, when I left my job at the Alchemistry, I've been looking into kind of like more inclusive kind of like spaces to work for. And I've been told many times, I've been asked to hide my pronouns because many clients might not be okay with it. And yeah, so I've been looking into kind of like places where I could just be myself at work, and that sounded really hard. With freelance projects, it was starting to get really easier and easier though. So I was starting to get like more focused and niche project, especially, and I need to do a big shout out here to the Career Design Club, because that really helped me to get a lot of projects that were within kind of like the areas that I wanted to focus on. And yeah, I mean, it kind of, in a way, it was easy to get more jobs, because as soon as you start doing more and more of the things that you love and the things that you're passionate of, like you get more jobs. But then I guess the tricky part for me has been like where I couldn't do it by myself anymore. And I had this realization of like, okay, I have a full-time job, but I'm still doing all of this freelance work on the side, and I still need developers to help me develop all of the designs that I do. And I'm still terrible at finance. Like all of my team will justify that. I do not want to look at budgeting sheet or any of that, because it's terrifying. So yeah, so basically first thing for me was like finding the right people. And one of the first few people are here in the room, actually, Natalie. So she was with me from the beginning and kind of like helping me out with all of the admin things, and kind of from invoicing to just like making sure that everything was running smoothly, so that I could really focus on what I loved. And yeah, so for me, again, like it started from a position of necessity, and I couldn't have done it otherwise. And the pandemic was actually a kind of a push for me as well, because I was at home. I found myself at home for 6 months with my mum in Italy. So like I either worked or baked banana bread or so find something productive to do. And for me, and for the person I am, that was that. Surely wouldn't have been so easy and I'm saying easy with air quotes, and possible without kind of like the pandemic, which for us was kind of a I don't want to say a good thing, because that's been horrible for many people, but definitely gave us a good push.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing this. And we have a question from Tilo, if I'm not mistaken, saying thank you so much for taking the time for this. I would like to ask, what was the approach you took to secure your first client? Did you email the client, call in, visit their office, send in your portfolio, or did you propose a concept they could use for the client's brand? And just to probably mention, Frame Perfect is a collective production agency. So yeah, speaking from the studio or agency's point of view.
So we do a kind of mix of everything. So the first few clients actually came from my freelance practice. So it kind of like rolled into that, which had its difficulties because at the beginning, you're dealing with things as your own self, and you do all of the communication and everything. And then after, you start getting people, and you need to kind of like transition the communication to someone else, and to still make sure that the client feels appreciated and not like kind of left aside. So at the beginning, again, was kind of like a transition of in this sense. And then so our managing director, Anna, actually started working with a business developer, and we got kind of, so there are two approaches that at the moment we're doing. So one is the cold email. So we would reach out to people, and there's not a correct formula. We're still trying to figure it out. Like the first few emails that we sent, we got a lot of like interest back, and we really realized it's because like they thought that we just wanted to collaborate with them or something. We have to revisit the whole email. So there's a lot of like work to do that, to make sure that you test, you learn, and you iterate and you prototype, a bit like the design process, you know. And from the other side is that we got on all of the possible platforms out there in terms of like Dribble, Behance, our own website, of course, the dots. So trying to get in all of these different places where people might find us. Again, Career Design Club directories. It's really useful when you find your niche, because you may find some very niche directories of just a few people that do kind of like a few agencies that do this work. So you're more likely to be contacted. And it's a lot of work to really tailor every project to each platform, but it's really worth it, because we do realize how we're getting work from anywhere, really. Like people just sort of contact us, like, I found you on here or on here or on here, and sometimes I'm like, I even forgot that we had like the platform over there. But turns out that the time, even if you get one project, it's time well spent for kind of like organizing all of and creating all of the assets to put on that on the specific platform. So I hope that answers the question.
I hope it does, Tilo. I'm terrible with names, so
Sorry,
glad I got this one right.
No, it is me, Gabby. Thank you so much for that, Cecilia. I really appreciate that. And I asked the question because you're right, and it was reassuring you said that there's no one formula, and you just have to try multiple different ways of doing it. And and I say that because, as we all may know, it does get lonely sometimes. It does. Sometimes you do feel like, oh, is it me? Am I doing something wrong? But yes, we are actually doing a lot of what you said as well. And it was very reassuring and comforting to hear we are not the only ones that go through it as well. So thank you so much.
Of course. Keep going.
Yeah.
Now we're about to launch the new like discussion board where we're going to be promoting more of the community, and we do a lot of work around like loneliness and isolation as a freelancer now. So actually noticing that it wasn't just the pandemic, it's still there. So making sure that we remind each other that we're not alone in this, because one tend to forget. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much for sharing this with us, Chechi and Tilo as well. I think we have time for 5 minutes. So one more question I would like to mention that a lot of people asked me before this was also hiring freelancers. You mentioned, Chechi, at the start that you had your managing director and also our classmate helping you out from the previous experience. But how did you go around like actually building the team, as well as like the developers from professions you might have not come across before? What really helped you make sure you have a strong and supportive team around you to get going with this?
Good question. Time is the short answer. It took a long time to figure out, again, like kind of there's no correct formula, right? So I talked earlier about like transferable skills. I worked for 2 years, about 2 years as a project manager in a web development agency, and that kind of gave me the opportunity to learn a lot about development and about web development, about WordPress, different platforms out there, which then gave me the skills to hire a developer and kind of understanding what to look for. Not that I know anything about development per se, but for me, it's important, like understanding the communication, like how are they gonna, if the developer's gonna be able to explain to me what they're doing, why they're doing what they're making, the choices that they're making, etc. So the model, like the way that we work is that we work with as freelancers only at the moment. So that was because we, as a very young startup, like the idea is that we want to scale and kind of scale down as well, like very quickly, in case we don't have we don't have much work, which I hope won't happen, but you know how it is. So yeah, what we're trying to do is really to find the perfect freelancer for every job. For example, we're working with a platform in the Asia Pacific for trans people. We'd like the design to be someone at least either from the Asia Pacific area or trans, so that can understand really what the audience is going through. So this is great from one side because of course, like the designers are really like kind of focused and make sure that the project is really tailored, and they can focus on kind of like the details that make something excellent rather than just good. But on the other side, what really we've been concerning for the past year is how do we make sure that this freelancers are also taken care of, you know, like it's okay having one project here and there, but how can we make sure that we feed work to these people that we love working with? So at the moment we have 2 senior designers and a junior designer. But again, like it happens that here and there, we kind of like ask for the help of other kind of junior designers for like smaller components of projects. It's again very much a learning. Like the team it's quite solid right now, but it's hard to kind of like navigate that word to make sure that you always have someone like kind of immediately stepping in case someone, you know, with freelancers always will happen. Like sometimes someone might have an issue or a bigger project to work on, so you need to be ready again and agile and adapt to this situation. So we haven't cracked it yet, I think, but it's definitely getting better and better as we go along.
Yeah, I'm sure. And how many people are you working with at the moment?
About 15 at the moment. Yeah, again, like we try and to work with different people all the time, so it's hard to find the right connections, but at the moment around 15. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, obviously this trial and error method has been working out fine, and being agile, as you mentioned a couple of times, so that's great. Okay, so we can start wrapping up now. What is the one key takeaway you'd love to leave in this space for all the freelancers who are thinking of starting an agency one day?
I think for me, the most important thing was really finding a niche. And that's what has been on the base of everything. And really find what you love, which sounds cliche, I know, but it is true. Find what you love and really dig deep into that. It doesn't have and the more specific it is, and it's going to be hard to start, yes, but the more you're going to be loving what you do, and the more you're going to do a great job, and the more you're going to serve the communities that you know well, or kind of like the products that you want to kind of focus on. So again, I know it's really cliche, but do find your niche and what you really love.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I hope this has been inspiring also for the graphic and web designer, Kirsty and Rich in the room, who might have seen a bit of themselves in you. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experience, your wisdom. And inspiring other people. As I mentioned, this masterclass will be available on the website starting tomorrow. You can watch it for free for a week and then it will be paid. So don't waste any time, and we'll also share a little teaser on IG. So yeah, I think that's everything from my end. Is there any kind of last words, Chichi, you would like to say or share?
I would just say I'm always available if anyone wants to have a chat. We love to collaborate with people, with other freelancers, with other businesses. So if you have any other questions, follow-ups, or if you want to collaborate, please get in touch.
Wonderful. So definitely go and give Studio Lutelica a follow across whichever platform you're on. And yeah, it's up for me to just say one more huge thank you. And I see little Olive is just waking up, so just in time for us to wrap this up and yeah, get on with our evening. So thank you so much, Cecilia Regini, the founder of Studio Lutelica. So thanks a lot, and I hope to see you soon again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.